Hello, thank you for tuning into my channel, my Tinnitus channel, where I basically discuss various treatments and approaches to treating and addressing tinnitus. And today I'm going to be talking about acupuncture. So, if you browse on YouTube or tinnitus forums, etc., you will occasionally find people asking, have you had any success using acupuncture to treat tinnitus? And there will always be some people who say, "Oh yes, I tried it and it helped me," etc., etc. Obviously, this is anecdotal evidence, and I like to go and see what the science actually is. So what I do is I use two websites. One is the British Tinnitus Association, who are a charitable organisation, non-profit. You can trust what this organization says because they don't have a vested interest in any of the treatments which they are assessing. A lot of the studies done on acupuncture are done by those who've got a vested interest in the treatment, and frankly, I don't trust them. So, what does the British Tinnitus Association say about acupuncture? Um, so, the claims are that it reduces and eliminates tinnitus. How is it delivered? Acupuncture needles, which are inserted at points on the body, and what evidence is offered. Um, English, well, what evidence and what were the results? So, English studies reported negative results. Some Chinese studies in the review seem to indicate some relief, but many of these had methodological flaws. Does the British Tinnitus Association recommend this treatment? No. British Tinnitus Association opinion on this treatment: there is no evidence that this treatment is effective. So, well, there we are, really. According to the British Tinnitus Association, this treatment really is a non-starter. It's not. It hasn't got the science to back it up. There are studies, but there are methodological flaws. Let's look at the NHS, National Health Service in the UK. Now, the NHS, they've had several alternative therapies which they've provided to an extent. For example, most famously, homeopathy. Homeopathy was initially offered on the NHS. It was subsequently withdrawn because parliamentary committees reviewed the evidence and decided there was no scientific evidence to indicate that homeopathy actually works. So, consequently, much to the disappointment of many in the NHS, homeopathy had to be withdrawn. Now, I say disappointment, and I'll explain that. The NHS is a free service, national health service in the UK, free at the point of delivery. They are heavily overloaded with people who are coming to them with illnesses which basically a lot of them can't be treated. And rather than refer them on to hospitals where typically an outpatient 1 hour treatment at an NHS hospital costs £200. And rather than referring them to NHS hospitals, what they were doing is sending them off to homeopathy, which was costing typically 60 to 80 pounds per hour. So it looks to me like it was a way of reducing the workload on the NHS, actually, which oddly enough is quite cost effective. Because there's a placebo effect with homeopathy, it was probably considered quite useful. But the parliamentary committees which evaluate whether the NHS is providing the taxpayer with good value for money looked at the scientific evidence and decided that there was no good reason to actually use public funds for homeopathy, and it was withdrawn from the NHS. Now, with acupuncture, to my surprise, in a way, acupuncture is actually, to a limited extent, offered on the NHS, but only for chronic pain relief. It's not offered for anything else. And I think it may be another case with acupuncture that people are coming to the NHS with chronic pain problems, and it's actually cheaper to send them to an acupuncturist than to actually prescribe them with very expensive pain-killing drugs. I've looked into some of the studies for acupuncture and meta studies in particular, where they look at put all the studies together and look at them, and they actually found that sham acupuncture was just as effective or ineffective as real acupuncture. In other words, somebody goes to an acupuncturist with a problem, and there are acupuncture points which are stimulated with the needles. And what they found is that when they used a control group where the needles were inserted at random points on the body, not actual acupuncture points, the results were exactly the same. So it looks to me with acupuncture that it's nothing more than placebo. I have no confidence in acupuncture. I don't believe in it at all. I know a lot of people will say, well, it's based on ancient Chinese techniques. Well, so what? That's not how you evaluate whether something actually works or not. It doesn't matter how old something is, you evaluate it by scientific studies. And there are no real strong studies which support claims that acupuncture is effective for anything at all. And a lot of the illnesses which acupuncture is used for, or conditions, concern chronic pain. And it comes back to what I was saying in my previous video, that if you take 1,000 people with chronic pain, we know that chronic pain can clear up on its own anyway. So if you take 1,000 people and say 100 people, we know that chronic pain is going to reduce or go down in 100 people. If those 1,000 go onto acupuncture and 100 get better, those 100 will attribute their improvement to acupuncture, when we know that in all likelihood those 100 would have got better anyway, even without the acupuncture. This is why you're seeing on YouTube channels people saying, oh, I tried acupuncture and it worked for me. But you don't hear from the other 900 people where they tried acupuncture and it didn't work, because nobody really wants to come on and report bad news. It's only people who are getting better. And they would have got better anyway. What I'm saying is it's just purely coincidence. And in my opinion, acupuncture is absolutely a bogus sham treatment that people are making money out of. There's no good, reasonable evidence that acupuncture actually works at all. If you want to go and waste your money on it, frankly, that's your business. And obviously, I wish you the best of luck. But it looks to me like it's nothing more than placebo, or people who would get better anyway. So, yes, I'm no fan of acupuncture. And the British Tinnitus Association, they've reviewed all the evidence. It does not work. That's all I've got to say for now. Leave me your comments, and if you've tried acupuncture and it works, if you're convinced that it works, obviously leave some comments behind. I know it's only going to be anecdotal evidence, but I'd still be interested to hear from you anyway. So that's all for now. Thanks for tuning in.